Hello, my fellow Americans. In today's video, we're going to talk about the police. Police reform, abolish the police, all of these things have been hot-button issues in the past year, year and a half, and many years prior to that, actually. But they keep getting more heated, and it's another one of those issues that people are just taking sides on and can't see a middle ground. There's a lot of people that think things are perfectly fine the way they are. I've talked to people who think, oh, the people who are getting shot, they have criminal histories, they deserve it. Those cops shouldn't get in trouble for that. The fact of the matter on that is, police are not judge, jury, and executioner. This is not Judge Dredd. We do not live in that reality. Police officers are not supposed to kill. Not criminals either. Now, the exception to that being to protect their own life, to protect the life of someone else, those circumstances need to be understood too. Which means there's a middle ground. You can't immediately justify any police shooting as, yeah, they're good. They're a police officer. They can do what they want. Nor can you say, oh, I can't believe they shot that guy who was charging at them with a knife. Middle ground. Both things need to be seen and taken at what they are. Now, on this note, I am often a fan of the middle ground. Do we need to institute changes? Yes. Do we need to completely strip the system down, tear it apart, and destroy it? No, absolutely not. We need to hold police officers accountable when they do things. But we can't do that in every circumstance. And by that I mean, if somebody is waving a gun at them and they shoot that person, in that circumstance, they had to make a judgment call. Their life or the perps. Somebody else's life or the perpetrators. We need to understand that. But again, going back to the other side of things, if they shoot somebody just to shoot somebody, they need punished for that. They need to be held accountable for that. They need to be treated like the criminal they have become. And if you want to be honest about it, since they are supposed to serve and protect and uphold the law, shouldn't they be held to a higher standard when it comes to things like that? Of all the people in this nation that should be expected not to murder, are police officers not at the top of that list? Now, you may be asking yourself, how do we find a middle ground when people are so divided over this? How do we define an area that is gray, so to speak, and people aren't like, oh no, we didn't go far enough, or oh no, we went too far? And it's a lot easier than most people want to accept. Now, you get calls that we need to defund the police. And that is honestly going in the wrong direction. And I say that because let's analyze it for a moment. When you take funding away from the police, where do you think those budget cuts are going to hit? They're going to hit in training, preparation. They're going to hit in pay. And in that regard, you're not doing anything to make the situation better. Does anybody honestly believe that police officers with less training will do a better job at defining if a situation calls for lethal force? Does anybody honestly believe that giving somebody less training makes them better suited for any job? Also, when it comes to cutting pay, and on another regard of this line, the way that police officers are being treated across the nation. Good cops, sorry to get sidetracked for a moment, but good cops are being treated like scum because of the bad actions of others. They are being targeted as just, oh, you're a cop, so you're automatically bad, because there are some bad cops. The fact of the matter is, people, there are good and bad employees in any field. Any and every field. And not just this country, but across the world. And you cannot hold good employees, in this circumstance, good police officers, accountable for the misdeeds of bad police officers. You cannot look at an entire group, and hear me on this. Listen to this phrase right here, an entire group. You cannot hold an entire group accountable for the actions of a few within that group. Think about other circumstances where entire groups are held accountable for the actions of a small faction of them. Think about that in a very broad spectrum. And think about the way that we as a society, and even you as an individual, look at something when one person does something bad and another person hates and their entire group, their entire sect, based on that one person's actions. Now, I understand it is a lot more than just one police officer has done something wrong. But look at the statistics. And statistics might not even be what you want to refer to, because they often get bent and twisted to whoever's throwing them up's point of view. But look at the actual facts. Look at the number of police officers within this country. Now look at the number of those police officers that are involved in fatal shootings or any other fatality on the job or even off the job. Look at the number that are involved in crimes. Look at all these numbers, fact-based numbers. And you soon see that there are far, far more good, hard-working police officers in this nation than the ones that are giving them a bad name. Yet here we are, entire groups of people demanding we defund the police. We abolish them entirely. We get rid of them. We punish the good cops for the misdeeds of the bad ones. How would any of you feel if your brother, sister, aunt, uncle, some relative did something wrong and suddenly your entire community wanted to excommunicate your entire family because of what a family member did? It might even be a family member you don't like. Think of it on those regards, if that helps you. Because too many people are trying to make this a polarizing situation. They're trying to see it as it can only go one way or another. We need to find the middle ground in this circumstance. Eliminating funding is not going to do that. And this is circling back to where I was. People are treating good cops like trash. They want to cut the pay of good cops, and bad cops as well, but they want to cut the pay and the funding. And both these circumstances are driving good cops out of the field. You have police officers who are in it and dedicated to the job. They want to protect and serve. They want to do their best for their community, for their country. And they're being treated like trash. And they're not getting paid as well because we're cutting funding and slashing funding. And you know what that does? That eliminates the good cops. They're saying, no, I won't do it. I want to protect and serve, I want to, but why would I do that for people who treat me like I am worthless? And you know what that leaves behind? That leaves the people who are doing it for the power trip. The exact people that we're trying to get rid of. That this whole abolish the police and get rid of them because of bad cops. The very people that is about, you are putting in these circumstances into those positions. You're not going to have people doing it for love of the job and wanting to serve their community. You're going to have the people doing it because they want that power. They want to be able to just, I'm a cop, I can do what I want. Abolish the police, defund the police. That's what that drives towards. Losing the good cops and leaving behind the bad ones. Now, is that a fact? Not entirely. But look at it. Analyze it. Think about it. Put yourself in those shoes. Would you want to take a bullet for somebody who thinks you're trash and thinks you don't deserve your job and you're the worst person in the world? Even if you went every day to your job and committed everything you had to protecting and serving everybody around you, would you want to put up with that? No. Defunding, abolishing is not the answer. It is not a solution. Now, on the opposite hand of things, there need to be repercussions. As I stated earlier in this video, cops just can't do whatever they want. And now this is directed at a small group of them. Like I said, there are far more good cops than bad ones. But when it comes to the bad cops, they need to be held accountable. If you are a bad cop, you are not just giving yourself a bad name, you are giving your entire community a bad name. You are giving your brotherhood a bad name. You are making good, hard-working, dedicated officers look bad because you are not doing the job you're supposed to. You swore an oath to protect and serve, and if you are in the field to do something other than that, you are in the wrong field. And if you use your position of power to abuse the system, you deserve to pay for that. You do not deserve to just get off because, oh, he's a cop. You need to answer for what you've done if you've committed a crime. And that extends to civilians as well. But that's not what this video is about. This video is about police officers. If you, as an officer, committed a crime, you deserve to do the time. You need to face the consequences. And as a nation, we have many, many times let police officers off the hook for unjustified killings. That needs to stop. That is another thing that tears this country apart. We are so divided on so many issues. And we find new ways within these issues to be divided. How can anybody justify a cop kneeling on a man's neck for 7 minutes? Yes, this is about George Floyd. I have gotten cane from some of the people I know because I defend that was there's no justifying that. No matter what George Floyd did in the past, pardon me folks, allergies. No matter what George Floyd did in his past, that is not for a police officer to decide he deserved to die. No police officer is judge, jury, and executioner, as I said before. And 7 minutes kneeling on a man's neck is excessive force. That's beyond excessive force. How do you justify that? They had a hard time restraining him. Kneel on his back. Kneel on his arms and legs. There were multiple officers there. You're telling me multiple officers couldn't restrain him without kneeling on a vital point like the man's neck? I don't care what anybody has to say about that. That was beyond extreme. And that cop, he deserves to see the full extent of the law brought down upon him. That is murder. That is blatant murder. That circumstance, and many like them, occur across this country. And many people see it and go, well, look at his background. Look at her background. Oh, look at who they associated with. They had it coming. Sometimes, yes, people do have it coming. If you aim a gun at a cop and the cop shoots you, you brought that on yourself. If you charged them with a knife, you brought that on yourself. If you aim that weapon or threaten somebody else with that weapon, you've brought that on yourself. They have split seconds to react to stuff like that. But there are times when they have lots of time to think about stuff. And more recent one, 8 cops, I believe it was, and pardon me if I misquote the stats, unloaded 107 rounds into a vehicle, into a truck, that was the wrong make and the wrong color as the vehicle they were looking for. 8 police officers. 8 police officers, wrong make, wrong color, unloaded that many rounds into the vehicle. Luckily, the women inside were only hit with a couple rounds. Nothing fatal. But there is time to think about that. There is time to verify that. And I do not have all the details to provide you at this exact point in time. But these are the circumstances. Thinking. It needs involved sometimes. Sometimes reacting is not the best course of action. Split second? Absolutely. Save those lives if you have to put that criminal down. It's unfortunate that somebody has to die in those circumstances, but if it saves other lives, it needs done. If you have to put an actual criminal down in the moment like that to save innocence, to save yourself, that is justifiable. But in many other circumstances, like I said, when there is time to analyze, or there is not an imminent threat, and cops just react, something needs done about that. Is it more training? Perhaps. Is it better analysis of the psychological behavior of officers? Perhaps. It could be a number of things. But I can tell you, again, circling back to before, defunding is going to go the opposite direction of that. So, in conclusion, we need the middle ground. We cannot abolish, we cannot defund. But on the other hand, nor can we just let cops do whatever they want for the sake of, well, they're police. We need the middle ground. We need a part where we as a nation can look at it and go, what can we do to make this better for everybody? How can we train our police officers better? How can we make sure that they are actually prepared for these circumstances so they don't get an itchy trigger finger, so they don't do things that are beyond excessive, like kneel on somebody's neck for 7 minutes, so they don't just kick in a door and start shooting. And these are extremes. But the sad reality of it, these extremes need brought up because they happen, and they shouldn't. We as a nation need to come together on this and many other issues. We need to come together and find the common ground. Find the area we can all agree on. And I think the area everybody agrees on in this circumstance is they want to feel safe. They want to feel safe in their own home. They want to feel safe in their community. They want to feel safe in their city, driving, walking down the street. And in order to feel safe, you need those police officers. You need to know there's somebody that you can call if you need to. But you also need to know, and you need to feel safe that if you call them, it's not going to go belly up on you. So, I hope that this maybe sways some people towards the middle ground if they were leaning in one direction or another. A lot of people were heavily locked into pardon me again, everyone. A lot of people were heavily locked into their ideas. Into the, it's this way or else. It can't be any other way. We need to get away from that. In lots of circumstances. We need to find that common ground. We need that unity. Because this issue, many other issues, they're tearing us apart when we need to come together. Thank you.